This is Revival X with John Burton.
Hey, this is John Burton with the Revival X podcast, coming to you from Revival X. I am here on site. I'm in the building getting ready for our wildfire night tonight. We have our weekly Tuesday service tonight at 7 o'clock. And man, we're going after it. We're going to break people free from a spirit of witchcraft. Here it is October. There's all sorts of curses flying everywhere. And people tend to succumb to or be impacted negatively by confusion or depression or relationship issues and these types of things. And so we're going after that tonight. If you hear this message, sound the alarm, get all your friends together, and come on out to Revival X here in Branson. However, most of you don't live near Branson, Missouri. So let's get into this. I'm going to talk about the difference between apostolic growth and personal growth, and there's a shift coming, or it's actually starting. We're in the midst of it, a shift coming to the church. That doesn't mean that many are actually responding to it or coming into alignment or being a catalyst for it or promoting it. It's still very, very kind of under the radar, but shift is absolutely happening. And what that means is, in part, is that a reformation of understanding of what church is, or how we connect with the church, or what we should expect from the church. And so we're gonna talk about that a little bit today. People are abandoning church like crazy. They're spiritualizing. Their departure. They're deconstructing. I hear people saying that they're finding God more authentically outside of the church, and for some that could be true, maybe. But the problem is when you start abandoning the gathering. There are those out there that would argue that all you need to do to have a church service is just have two or three gathered together. Well, that's not true, and that's one of the most common verses taken out of context in Scripture. Actually, that passage has to do with church discipline. You'll find that in Matthew 18. And so, no, we don't just gather together around a cup of coffee, sing some songs, as great as that is, and just presume that we are functioning as the church, or that it is a governmental church event. It just simply is not. And so, just in short, and this message really isn't about the government of the church, but a little bit it is. So in short, the ecclesia is simply this. It is a gathering of people in the city around apostles or leaders, right? Fivefold leaders. It's apostolic government. And so the apostle or the prophet, pastor, they sound the alarm, they gather the people, right? They have the city in mind. Ecclesia is only truly understood if we come at it from the city church as opposed to simply a local church. But it's a gathering, people actually coming together under authority. That's the big one. There's such an anti-authority thing going on out there in the world. People don't like authority. They don't like pastors. They don't like leaders. And for some of them have legit reasons why they have some struggle there. I get that. Not minimizing that. But we can't dismiss biblical leadership. We just can't do that, especially if we want to be a part of the ecclesia. And so healthy, godly, biblical leaders gathering people together for the sake of casting vision, training, and equipping for a mission, right? And it's all bathed in prayer. And so that is the ecclesia. That is church. So we need to have that understanding if we're going to talk about what we're going to talk about today. And that is the difference between apostolic growth or discipleship, I suppose, versus personal growth or discipleship. So personal growth in an apostolic environment, in the ecclesia, especially when it is an apostle-led ministry, and they're very mission focused. Um, the personal growth is mostly going to need to be done independently. Okay, so you've got people out there that they get all uptight sometimes, about, well, the pastor's just not feeding me. I don't like what he's teaching, and so the issue there is you're supposed to be doing this on your own. 99% of it. The purpose of the church is not only to receive teaching, although that's a part of it for sure, but it's certainly not to get all your teaching. It's certainly not to get all your discipleship, and it's certainly not to get all your growth. You should not arrive at the church empty in most cases. I understand there are seasons and trials. I get that. But in most cases, we don't show up at the church empty. We show up at the church full and burning and just awake and full of the fire of God and coming off dreams and visions and growing and maturing, and the word of God is just permeating every part of us, and faith is high, and we live our lives praying in the Spirit and walking in the Spirit and living in the Spirit, and that's our life. And so, man, you got to be kidding me if I am going to wait for some other person to allow me to go deep in God. I'm not going to wait. Man, today it's crazy how many resources there are out there. You could fill your entire day for an entire decade or longer with all of the material that's out there. Just open a Bible app and you could spend forever. Get on YouTube. Listen to sermons, watch sermons, right? Get podcasts like this one. Grow independently. Read books. I put out books myself, as do so many other, Christian authors. Not to get rich, I'll tell you that. It's to get the message out there and to help people get equipped, right? I'm not going to read the book for them. Unless it's an audio book, maybe, right? I'm not going to read the book for them. I'm not going to do that. Nobody's going to do that for you. You have to be in charge of your own growth. So that's personal growth, and that's really, really important. So we don't depend on the church or on a pastor or on a leader for most of our personal development and our personal discipleship. We don't do that. There's other things you can do too. Gather together and have Bible studies, right? Gather with other believers, pray for one another, encourage one another. There's a lot of different ways to grow and to do the discipleship thing. It's not all head knowledge, of course. There's other parts of that. And so there's so much that can be done. So if that's personal growth, and all of that, or most of that, is supposed to be done independently, or we have the responsibility to grow ourselves. There's no pastor that has the responsibility to make us grow. It's our responsibility. So if that's personal growth or personal discipleship, what's apostolic growth or apostolic discipleship? This is where it's incredibly important to understand the city church or the ecclesia or an apostolic ministry. Okay, I believe pastor-led churches where the leader's primarily pastoral. You can have some crossover or some hybrids. You can have pastor, apostle, pastor, prophet. You can have some of that, but that strong pastoral, nurturing type of a leadership gift, very important gift. But in my opinion, I believe that in many cases, most cases possibly, pastors would be better served not as a senior leader. That's better. It's better for an apostle to be in that position. The pastor would be better served focusing on what they love and focusing on what causes them to come alive and what they're gifted to do, nurturing and one-on-one and small group and encouragement and maybe some counseling for those that want to do that and that kind of thing. So pastors can be released to do that. Someone put something up on Facebook the other day, just this list, of all the things that pastors do. It's one of these, pray for your pastor type posts. And all of these things, and I'm looking at all of these things, and I'm thinking, a whole bunch of those things they shouldn't be doing. They shouldn't be doing those things. That's not what their calling is. That's not what they're supposed to do. There comes a point where it's like, no, 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 we're not going to do that. I'm going to pray and be in the Word. That's my life, and I tell people that all the time, and I'm sure I've frustrated a few when they expect me to be at their beck and call, or to be a certain way, or to respond a certain way, or to do a certain thing, or when I allow things to go undone, or why. I'm primarily giving myself to prayer and the ministry of the Word. That's it's my calling, right? And so I let the other stuff go. Someone else wants to pick it up, I'll let them pick it up. You know, um, but apostolic ministry is mission oriented. Okay, pastoral ministry is very different. It's let's get some people in here, and then let's spend a lot of time helping these people and loving on these people and praying for these people. That's something that's very good. That's a very good thing to have. But I believe it's best at a lower level than what you have when apostles kick in and they give senior leadership, and now there's a movement, and now there's mission, and now there's vision. And it's about gathering people, not just to gather people and help them through life, but gathering people to get them trained to accomplish a mission. So what is apostolic growth or apostolic discipleship? Very simply, it is apostolic leaders, and they could be any of the fivefold, but people with an apostolic bent, apostolic leaders who have a mission, and almost exclusively the training that they deliver is focused on whatever is needed for that mission. And it's very, very easy to understand if you think of the United States military. So if we're about to go to war, or let's think of special forces. Let's do that. Navy SEALs, right? My guess is they spend a lot of time, you just think about what you see in the movies or on TV, spend a lot of time like swimming underwater and holding their breath and trying to rescue people, like maybe some of these Navy divers. They'll spend a lot of time in tactical training with their weapons, mapping out properties. We've used kind of this terminology around here at Revival X, or this way of thinking. And so my guess is the special forces are not spending a whole lot of their time, figuring out how, or taking history lessons, or going to math class, unless that's specific to what they're doing in preparation for the mission. They're not taking art class. They're not doing almost anything. Look at the whole, list of possible classes they could take. And they're not taking almost any of them. Why? Because they're special forces. It's an apostolic governmental mission. They are getting ready to do whatever is needed when the time comes. And so they're focused on skill, very specific skills. So you'll see that in a church or ministry that has a vision for revival. They have a vision for the city. It's like that around here at Revival X. I don't teach on a whole lot of stuff except what I feel is needed to get the job done. So you might have an apostolic ministry that wants to see the entire city just blown up with revival, and they might spend 6 months teaching on almost nothing other than intercession. They're not teaching on how to be a better parent. They're not teaching on a whole bunch of stuff. They're trusting that people are going to be getting that teaching elsewhere. They can watch YouTube. They can read books, right? But as specialists, they are training on the critical skills needed to get the job done. They're training on revival. They're training in intercession. They're training in the prophetic, right? And so week after week after week after week after week, you're getting this type of stuff. It's important that we are able to hold ourselves at attention, right? Where we don't get bored with it. I'm sure special forces, because the repetition, the practice, they're like, oh no, not again. Oh no, not again. I thought I mastered this. Snipers. I don't want to do any more sniping practice. I don't want to do that. I think I got it. No, you don't got it quite yet. You think you got it, but I understand it. Well, you kind of understand it, but I'm pretty good. Well, you're pretty good, but you're not there yet, right? And so you're gonna be in this environment where it's intercession, 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 prophecy, 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 you know, consecration, 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 and that's the environment that you're in. So for the 2 or 4 or 6 or 8 hours that you're at the church or at the ministry, at the revival hub, at the house of prayer, you're getting specialized training on on the things the leadership determines is necessary to accomplish the mission. So the leadership is not mostly focused on the people that are there in terms of just teaching them everything that they need to know in their personal lives. When I was in Dallas, at a church there, big old church, part of my job every week was to change the marquee it would always give the pastor's sermon for the next week. And I hated that marquee. I hated changing that thing. But I always loved it in a strange sort of way when the pastor would just stick to his how to be successful messages, how to be successful in life. So it's how to raise good children, how to be an overcomer, how to. And I'm like, oh, I can keep the how to up there. I don't have to change out the how to. And that's definitely not an apostolic culture. It's just not an apostolic environment. Apostolic environment, you're going to get very specialized things. For example, here we have the School of Revival, which really what goes on there is what we see happen in our main services on Tuesday nights. I'm teaching out of a lot of my books. I'm teaching revelation-driven prayer. Why? Because it's important that we learn how to hear God's voice in the place of intercession. I teach on the terror of hell. Why? Well, I had an encounter being dragged toward hell. And it's a message for Christians. And God told me many Christians will be shocked to find themselves in hell one day. And so with us now focused on the city, here we are in Branson. I don't want people to go to hell. And we need to sound the alarm to awaken Christians in the region. We keep talking about calling them out of the caves. Awaken the Christians in the region to get them awake, get them staying awake, and get them sober and serious about what's going on, because hell is it's getting bigger and bigger, and a whole lot of Christians are going there. In fact, a whole lot of pastors, and it's a hardcore message. So we teach on that. Why? Because it's connected to the city mission, right? I've got books. There's a book titled "Piece of Cake," different kind of a book, where I just taught in that book. I wrote that book, and I designed the cover, and it was edited, and I sent it to press and received a copy back. From beginning to end, writing the entire book, doing all of that, it was just about a 2-week process, believe it or not. I intentionally wrote the book that fast because the book is all about accomplishing what God has called you to accomplish. It's getting it done. It's being on task. It's being aggressive, right? And so that's one of the messages that I teach, right? We can't just hold back. We can't just be slow. We can't just chill. We can't just kind of wait for doors to open sometimes. Sometimes we got to go busting through them. And so I teach on that. Why? Because we need people here at Revival X that are self-starters, that are ready to go for it. They're ready to launch into new, into ministries and to do different things. That's very, very, important. My book, Staying Saved, I just finished that book. Just came out. Why that one? Again, it's the salvation issue. It's all about what's happening in the city. The Coming Church, all about reformation in the church. So you kind of get the idea. 20 Elements of Revival, another book that I wrote about the step-by-step process of revival on a city level. And so those are the themes that I am hitting on here at Revival X week after week after week after week after week. It's apostolic growth. So I need the people here to grow apostolically. Now the problem is, if they don't grow personally, then there's going to be trouble. They're not going to last. They're going to get hit, right? Because this requires maturity. This requires a diligence. It requires very determined advance. It requires vision. It requires all of that. And so if we're not growing independently, it's not going to work. So that's why personal growth has to happen, but that's not for me to do, here in my place. It's for me to encourage them to do it on their own. And then we focus on everything that needs to be focused on in order to accomplish our mission here. So the people coming into Revival X, it's not primarily for us just to minister to them, though of course that happens. Tonight we're going to be praying, witchcraft off people and encourage them. So it happens. But primarily that's not the end goal. Most churches these days, it's the end goal. Get people in the door, get them in the seats. And now the whole mission is just pouring into them. Well, this is kind of the opposite. We're looking for people that are poured into already for the most part because they've taken it upon themselves to get to that point, or bring me some fresh young ones who are brand new saved, and you watch how fast they grow. They're going to be going crazy growing in the Lord because of this environment is such a fiery, powerful environment that they're going to be home all the time, just devouring the Word of God, But this is an army, like I always say, the army or the military was not established just to train soldiers. The military was for the good of the soldiers. The military was established to protect our nation, to go to war, to fight, to get, and so so they need soldiers to do that work, right? The Bible says, "Pray for the laborers." Laborers are few, and so apostolic ministries are looking for laborers, people that are going to do the work of the ministry. And that just simply requires that they are growing fast independently. And then when we come together, it is an explosive nuclear level fire. We are locked in. We are advancing. We understand the mission. We're going to become experts in it. And so that's what apostolic growth or apostolic discipleship is. Right? And the Bible talks in Acts about apostolic teaching, And so yeah. And so I would love to know, just like always, what do you think about this? I appreciate those of you that contact me when you write me, email me, just go to revivalx.tv/contact, or go to burton.tv/contact. Those are my 2 ministry pages. And those emails go right to me. I would love to hear from you. What do you think about this? We're praying for revival hubs to launch all over the world, and of course they're happening. It's happening, but we need to see them normalized, where it becomes normal for them, and other churches are locking arms with the revival hubs, and the city church thing starts to happen. I'm praying for the churches here in Branson, praying for pastors, and we need to see a common vision among the leadership of Branson. And I'm ready to see that happen too. And same is true for every city. So there you have it, guys. Pray God just blows you up in the best of ways, and that the fire of God just scorches you, and that your day is absolutely incredible. If you listen to this and today, and you're like, hey, I got to get out there to Revival X. Get out here to Revival X. Or if you missed today, come next Tuesday. Come Thursday. We have powerful prayer times on Thursday. All right, guys, that's it. I will see you next time.
Thank you for listening to Revival X with John Burton. You can access media, read articles, and partner with the ministry at revivalx.tv. And share this podcast with those who are hungry for revival, reformation, and revolution.